So we have Dawn Anderson, that's our next speaker, and she's going to talk about SEO strategy for temporal, local, personal, mobile first search.
So what I've been thinking about a lot is this whole notion of, in particular, I've been thinking quite a bit about Generation Z as like just as any sort of target audience that you can really, but that one in particular, they're kind of everywhere. They're kind of on all sorts of social channels. They're always on their phone. Obviously, I lecture at the university, and you can see that like students are like the rest of us, totally addicted to their phones. So I was thinking about ways in which we had to think about this for the future, and almost be kind of audience stalkers as such. So I wanted to talk about a few of the factors that we needed to take into consideration. So I'm not going to do all that boring bit on this screen because Alex has introduced me already. But the point I'm making is that ultimately my search universe is not your search universe, and that I think is the principle of this talk, in that we're all seeing things differently all of the time. Every time we go to search, we are all obviously, as digital marketers or business owners, a little bit obsessed with checking our rankings across all the different tools, etc. But the bottom line is obviously that a lot of the time they're wrong, because if you're in a certain place, you're going to see something first. If you've been on a website before, you're going to see it before other things. When it comes to searching for in Google particular queries, so this notion of a personal search. So since 2009, obviously it's going back quite a while, and Google has gone beyond just having logged in users, using the search behavior of logged in users to return results. It's now obviously anybody, the cookie data and the past search queries that you created, it's just for everybody. Yeah. So there's also location data that's connected to your device, the time or day of search, and obviously where you're based geographically. So it's even when you're not logged in, that's the point. It's kind of all getting a bit personal as such. And obviously they created in the past template links originally for an audience of many, and then a triangulation of many data points. And increasingly, as Christoph was saying about links, data as well has like this compounding effect. It just becomes increasingly refined. They know you more and more, and it kind of is all moving very much towards this audience of one. And this is never more evident than the fact that now, obviously, slightly outside of search, but still including search, you have Google Assistant, which is going to basically be like Google Home, Nest, etc. Not Nest, Siri, Cortana. It'll know you so well, probably better than you know yourself. And it'll be able to help you with your daily life. I know, for instance, that I run my life around my Google Calendar. My Google Calendar is connected with my mail. If I'm on a flight, it'll remind me, all that kind of thing. So I think how can we build strategies to take that into consideration? Obviously, it's just becoming increasingly intelligent, and very much like we have Amazon and Expedia and all the different intelligent programmatic platforms. All the search engines are very much building towards that kind of, if you like, customer relationship management, a dual-sided platform, searchers and advertisers and other information as such, the organic search, and they're just an introductory service as such. They're a little bit like a dating site connecting searchers with information. You only have to look at, in your browser, Chrome, / histograms / to see the personal data that is being transferred across to Google on you. Yeah. So, that's a little sample of mine, but this is all that goes back to be added to the data mining, the data sampling. And recently, even though they haven't done a huge amount to progress personal search as such since 2009, I think that this is now starting to get a little bit of a bit more interest again from Google. I was just looking the other day on the Google research site, and I went to a recent web search and data mining conference, and they had papers that were released there at WSDM 2017. And these are so current. They're around situational context for ranking in personal search. So what's the situation that you're in? What's the intent? Where are you? What's the time? What's the location? What's the context? What are you needing as such? Yeah. And another one there, learning from user interactions in personal search by attribute parameterization. You know, it's one of the big things in these papers that I was reading here is that part of the reason why they've not been able to progress things since 2009 is that there's been a sparsity of reliable data. So a lack of reliable data, a little bit messy and noisy data and fuzzy. Part of that is obviously because people kind of go off halfway through a task and there's never really a great chain of queries that go together that actually they're able to pick up on intent. But using things like deep learning and machine learning here, they're looking at the moment at building with this research probability patterns to see, well, what's based on a huge amount of users' data, what's the next likely type of query, or what's the intent that we can gather from that? So building like past data is predictor of future data type thing. So obviously, also customer behavior has changed. The customer journey is no longer linear, it's cyclical, that's changing. And obviously it's part of that fragmentation is very mobile. Micro moments, lots and lots of tiny things. People are pursuing big goals in small moments and unexpected and solving unexpected problems. You know, they have like these tiny things that they do throughout their life on their phone. You know, this is a really interesting study, 900 micro moments to buy a car. This was some research that Google commissioned. It showed all the different touch points somebody had before they actually made the decision and purchased a vehicle. Which car, which is right for me? Can I afford it? That's to do with finance. Where should I buy it? Am I getting a deal? Comparison, etc. And obviously, all these micro moments, because we have so much, we're always connected. There's devices everywhere. We're multi-screen. Humans have like a really low attention span now. It's dropped to 9 seconds, less than a goldfish, especially on mobile, because there's always something else that they can be looking at if you're slow. And, you know, it's no surprise then that because of this whole we are researchers type thing, tiny bits, there's always something to distract us. Most of the time we're just having a nosy. We're just looking, browsing, you know, we're just researching towards bigger things. And we always want the best deal, so we'll always be off there checking reviews. And it's very rare that it's like an immediate conversion. So, but there is a great thing about all these micro moments in that it means that consumers now, they're so fickle. They know that there's always a better deal. They know that there's always somebody who's going to give them some better information. 90% of smartphone users are not sure what brand they want when they start to look for information, which means that we have a shot, a smaller sites, not the huge, massive brands, at being helpful and being in front of somebody and actually getting in there and getting front of mind. So that's good news. So we know search on mobile is exceeding desktop. The mobile first index is on its way. They're working on that. Things like voice search, loads and loads of fragmentation has come around as a result of mobile. But because we know we must be fast, we have to make sure that we do things to optimize our website. Yeah, I was reading the other day that 1 in 2 people now expect a site to load in under 2 seconds. Yeah, if you're not there really quickly for them, they're off. Yeah, because they've got other options. But now you can do lots and lots of things. You can look at things like caching, compression, make things small on a mobile site. Just make things small generally on a website, any website, but even more so on a mobile. You know, you've got AMP coming forward, accelerated mobile pages, serving content over a content delivery network to take some of the load, especially as you get bigger sites, minification, prefetching and pre-rendering. So that's really easy, actually. You know, it sounds complicated, but it's just 2 lines of code. You just look at your analytics, discover which are the next most likely pages, really good for forms, actually. So if you know that the next step is going to be like a shopping cart, you know, you preload the shopping cart page into your site so that you know that when people get there, it's already in the browser waiting to load. So that, you know, it's well worth looking at these things. But there's tools out there, not going to I know I've not got much time, so I'm going to be really quick. So you've got GT Metrics, Pingdom. You've got, I love GT Metrics because it has this whole like 5 tools in one: page speed, why slow, waterfall. And they never all come up with the same thing. It's very rare actually that you get like all of the tools with the same scores, but you have lots and lots of different little things that you can do to kind of increase it incrementally, make things better. No interstitials. Okay, so there's not been a huge amount of noted penalties as a result of interstitials yet, but I'm pretty sure that at some point in the future they have said that there's going to be interstitial penalties, and it's just a matter of time before Google gets that right, really, being able to detect. And you know, we all said, oh, we're not afraid of Penguin, we're not afraid of Panda, we're not afraid of XYZ. And the summer of 2012, always remember that Matt Cutts said, the summer of 2012 is going to be very interesting. It'll be one that SEOs will remember for a long time. I think things like, you know, not taking into consideration that they have noted warnings about interstitials, etc. If you ignore these things now, ignore at your peril, would be my advice. But obviously, just make things small on a site. Just, you know, there's images are like the big deal, really. The biggest problem are often images. And people just upload them and don't think about making things tiny. Your poor website has got to carry all these images on its back. So lots of tools and plugins there. Kraken.io was recommended to me actually by Ben from Kuzai, Ben Noble. Ben Norman, that's his wife. Ben Norman, and he said that they swear by it, and it's really good. Yeah. So this is really interesting. Design Bombs did a comparison, a really interesting study into the best caches for WordPress. Lots and lots of testing there. WP Rocket came out tops, but the links there to have a look actually at that. It's really interesting research. And then obviously, bear in mind, this is something that actually was shared at the Web Search and Data Mining Conference back in February, yeah. 56% of on-the-go queries have local intent. That means 56% of people on mobiles, out and about, are looking for something nearby. Yeah, that's a huge amount of queries, actually. Yeah. So bear this in mind when you start to think about your strategy. You know, when you're analysing your data, consider things like, what are the top devices to optimize for? What percentage of your audience is using mobile? Yeah. You know, don't forget to look at things like assisted conversions, because just because people are not checking out on mobile, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not like part of the journey for them. You know, look at the average number of visits to conversion. It could be that people are like, keep coming back and like researching along the way. Yeah, how many people are adding to basket on mobile devices? Maybe then look at like serving a different like, sort of check-in, a sort of basket and checkout experience for mobile. Make it easy. And also think about where people are, the time that they're at. What are they looking for? What are they searching for? Understand different intent as part of the different parts of the conversion funnel. For instance, you know, you've got I like the race model. Dave Smart Insights, Dave Chaffee's reach, act, convert, engage model, and I particularly like for SEO the obviously the reach is the initial SEO overall, the visibility that we get, but then you look at like exploration and decision making. Understand that these are all like steps towards bigger goals. And when people are exploring, they're at the very early stages of reach, yeah, that they are in race, they don't know what they're after. You need to maybe suggest options, offer ideas, answer all the questions very early on. Don't expect a big conversion, but you've planted the cookie. You know, you're able to now sort of begin to like follow them around, yeah, and more touch points will follow, unless they've had bad experience, yeah. Next stage is obviously best, reviews, comparisons and calculators and so forth. And that's at the act stage that I use to convert this, if you like, into SEO as such. So they want to compare lots of things. They're much closer to a conversion, and there are again opportunities. So I always say, like, build a moments map. Every presentation I do, my dog Bertie always has to be in there. So that's my Bert on the right hand side, yeah. But remember, obviously, things like with local, when you consumers, suspects or prospects are out and about on their phone, proximity prevails. So if you have got a really good Google My Business and a good localized branch section on your website, it's going to give you a big advantage, because obviously the proximity. Google is looking to serve things, or search engines are looking to serve things that are near, because 56% of on-the-go queries have of mobile intent, local intent, yeah. And then obviously things like query refinement, bear in mind, you know, that obviously these things are not there just randomly. I searched for something like Sharon Osbourne's dog, and what happens on query refinement is there's some really interesting academic documents written by Google researchers on this. Like, one of them is clustering query refinements by user intent, that actually looks at a sort of group of 3 different types of queries that could be. It's almost like these are like the clues, which way next, yeah. So the next searched queries, if you like, yeah. So obviously looking to find the way there. One sec, I'm gonna have to like